I used to do a milk run after school. That kind of started off for me, running around Ashfield with a trolley and a big pouch. It was the real first frontier to learn about how to treat customers and how to be passionate about Australian produce. That then morphed into a role at the humble McDonald's. McDonald's was my first occupation to learn the importance of food service, customer quality, managing waste, and making sure that the product excels in every way.
You can bag them out as much as you want, but at the end of the day, McDonald's is providing a market a level of service that a lot of people cannot.
There was 8 jobs and 64 applicants. I was one of the lucky ones to get that apprenticeship. I was there for 20 years. I went from an apprentice to a company car and an office job as the food development manager looking after 185 sites. They gave me the opportunity from a young apprentice right up to a senior management role. You never stop learning, Paulie.
Chef
Good to be here, mate.
Samuel Burke. What an honour, what a pleasure. And I remember when I first met you in the flesh. It was last year at Fine Food in Sydney. You were running to the Unox stand and I begged you for a quick selfie. And I said, mate, I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you, mate.
And we took a selfie. And I think the rest was history after that day. I posted it on my story. I said, this bloke's the best, because you are, and we'll get into the reason why I believe that. And then we became pen pals since.
Yeah, mate, and I followed you straight back as soon as I saw the photo. You know, I was inquisitive, and I go, this guy's a top bloke, and then I started, as you do, you look through the feed, and then you get more intrigued and you get more intrigued and you start to learn a bit from yourself, and that's what it's been, mate. I've actually loved being on your journey and being a small part on it, jumping on your lives every now and then and reading all the tips and tricks and taking away some learnings to better myself as well. So thank you for what you're doing for industry, Paulie.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. For those of you that don't know Sam, Sam is a corporate chef for MLA, and I'll get him to explain what he does there. But, you know, there is a big part in food service that people don't understand, that there are people behind the scenes that aren't a part of the venues. And they're, you know, you can be a part of hospitality without working in the frontline venue. There's 1,000 moving parts that go beyond that. And that's something that when I was in university, at Western Sydney, we did a program. We actually ran an event to show the students that there is things, when you're studying hospitality management, there's things beyond being a hotel manager. There's hundreds of companies out there that literally survive on the food service industry, and you can work in many different, you know, different angles, different facets. I, for one, was a business that was 150% reliant on the food service industry. We were supplying restaurants and cafes, pubs, clubs, hotels all the time. We're the guys that assist in building the kitchen and getting stuff going, right? So today's podcast is a little bit different from what I normally do. A lot of the times my pod's about, you know, how to be a better business owner, what are we looking for when becoming a better chef. But today I want to take this angle, which is quite a unique angle, is looking from, you know, a different perspective of the food service industry, outside the normal kitchen, outside those 4 walls of a business premises, and showing people that are in that, you know, transitional period in their career that, you know, it doesn't mean you have to go to real estate.
Correct.
You know, if you want to change your career, you want to stop being a chef, or you want to progress from being a barista, what other things are there out there in the market? And I think that you and I, over your years of experience and my level of exposure, I think we can unpack some of that and maybe guide people on how they could potentially get there. And then obviously I'd love to hear your story, how you got to MLA and your role, because you know, a lot of people don't understand. They see you at the show and you cook beautiful beef and lamb, and all other meats. But people don't understand how important your role is on a global scale.
Thank you, mate. No, that means a lot to hear that from you, because if people like yourself are understanding, we're getting the message through.
Yeah, man, you're helping Australian farmers export their product and keeping our GDP alive. Like, you're helping us push. It's not just about the ribeye and the eye fillet. Like, it's you're pushing the product out into menus globally. Getting Australian meat on menus on a global scale. So, Sam Burke, welcome to the podcast.
Mate, honoured to be here. I'm chuffed. Mate, when you invited me on, I was really excited. So here we are. You have my full attention.
That's it.
And I'll tell you everything I know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, Sammy, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the food service industry.
Yeah, good, Paulie. Good question. So it kind of dates, I'm showing my age now, right back to 1986, when I used to finish school at the tender age of 11. So that makes me 49 today.
Yeah.
I used to do a milk run after school, right? So it was always that customer service, knowing the product, being passionate about what you're selling, and giving a good customer experience, right? So that kind of started off for me, running around Ashfield with a trolley and a big pouch, delivering high-low shape, FM flavoured milk, moves, 600 ml bottles, both hydrolyzed and pasteurised, to houses, and jumping on the back of a truck, it's cruising down Parramatta Road at 80 Ks. And down that day, those days, no one ever thought about it. You saw garbos on the back of garbage trucks. You saw milk boys hanging off the back of a milk truck driving down Parramatta Road. It was the 80s, right? But I guess all dangerous occupations aside, it was the real kind of first frontier to learn about how to treat customers, how to learn about the product that you're marketing, and how to be passionate about Australian produce. So that led in, that was a 5-year job.
And
after school.
who did you used to work for? Was it Paul's Milk? Who was that?
No, back then it was United Dairies. It was Peter's Farm back then, and then it evolved into Dairy Farmers. So they used to have different types of milk producers in different types of sectors in Sydney. And I worked for a Uruguayan milko by the name of Mario back in the day. Me and a few other mates from Ashfield. So the pay was a massive $7.50 a day. But that was big money, mate, considering you could buy a packet of lollies like this for 20 cents. $7, you were a millionaire, right? Yeah. And I guess it taught me, if I wanted the Adidas Rome shoes from Payless Shoes back in the day that cost $50, 4 or 5 weeks, I'd have it, right? It taught me how to earn the good things in life, earn my dollar, and learn about customer service and be passionate about Australian agriculture. That then morphed into a role at the humble McDonald's. So I know we come from around the same area, but I'm not sure if you remember back on Parramatta Road where the Bellwood Bus Depot is today, across the roads of Dan Murphy's. That used to be a McDonald's, and it was opposite Concord Oval. And
for those that don't know, Concord Oval is
Sydney.
In Sydney, and it's home of the Balmain Tigers.
Yeah.
Who are unfortunately taken out the wooden spoon.
That's my team. West Tigers, bro. Anyway, long story short, Mac is there from about, would have been about 91 to, it's a bit, this is your life, right up until year 11 at school. So it was actually 90 to 92, 2 years there. And that was great. McDonald's was my first occupation to learn the importance of food service. Working to a high pressure environment with customer quality, managing waste, and making sure that the products, excels in every way. We were so proud of what we did that we used to try, in the downtimes to make burgers that looked like they were in the commercial just at the back,
Right.
And it was just an opportunity once again to take that milk run knowledge up to another level and learn how, procedures, policy, timing, wastage, cost of goods. It was a real good training ground for what food service operators go through today on a whole higher level. Fundamentals are the same, right?
1,000,000%. And I always say, to people, you can bag them out as much as you want. You can talk about their food, you can talk about the product that they're offering, But at the end of the day, McDonald's is providing a market, a level of service that a lot of people cannot. And that's one thing that you've got to understand, that we're in a service-based business here.
100%.
You know, people come to a particular business, A, to either be a sense of community, they want to feel a sense of community, B, fulfill a sense of service, or C, be embraced in an environment that is different to their own, to their norm. So you got to know where you sit within that market. And the minute that you're confused and you don't know where you sit between those three, that's where you're lost in translation. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to succeed or play out. So you got to understand your place, I guess. And that's where, you know, it's when somebody tells me I had a great experience working at McDonald's because I learnt a lot, that shows me that you embraced the system. Anybody that works at McDonald's has the exact same opportunity as you did. But it's what level of embracement they take on that would set them apart from the rest. Some people would say, oh, it's the worst job I ever had. Yeah, because you didn't want to follow the system.
And you know what, Paul, you're exactly right. You do your 8 or 9 hours on a Saturday, you get pumped, your hands would smell like pickles from dipping them in with gloves, and you know, you used to add water to the onions to dehydrate them for the burgers. I'm giving away all the secrets now. You know, you'd have to fill up your station, clean it. There was audits that were done. But it's no different to running a food service establishment today. You have food safety audits. You have environmental health safety officers walk in. We had managers and we had what they call, I think it was SOS checks at the time, you know. And the beautiful thing is, fast forward in 2016, as the corporate chef of MLA, probably my second year into the job, I was in Japan developing burgers with McDonald's.
What a full circle market.
And the amazing thing is, our international manager, Andrew Cox, who's based in Singapore, was with me. Guess where he started?
At McDonald's.
So, yeah, North Sydney, up the road. So the beautiful thing was, we walked into their kitchen, right? You imagine if you were the innovation chef at McDonald's, and two guys from Australia walk in to their kitchen and know how to use their machines, their clamshells, their guns that shoot out the Big Mac sauce, the quality procedures to bring burgers. Automatically, you've got that instant success because you understand their business. So here's something that I learned, and Coxie did, way back in the 1990s, that we brought into fruition at 2016.
Wow.
So that's just a fast forward, right? You know, and I've never said that before on a podcast, but that's a true story. And we got so much respect that they adopted Australian beef onto some of their new burgers. And then as a thank you, you know, the tray mats that you get when you're eating there, the paper tray mats, they developed a tray mat with MLA's branding, True Aussie Beef and Lamb on it, with Australian beef story for all the burgers that went around their restaurants.
Wow.
So if that's not marketing, because you know, when you're at McDonald's, you used to always look at that paper tray mat and read what was on it, 100%. Right? Because you're focused on your food and you're doing, now these days you're probably looking at your phone. But back in those days, you looked at that tray mat, right? You know, so I guess, yeah, back to my career, finished at McDonald's, then, believe it or not, got a job at the first kind of hypermarket that hit Australia, which was kind of similar to IKEA, Franklin's Big Fresh. I'm not sure if you remember that.
I remember Franklin's. It was like a no frills.
Yeah, but they had these gourmet stores, right? They had about 4 or 5 of them. And this one was in Leichhardt in Marion Street in Marketplace. And it was actually like an IKEA. So you walked through, you know IKEA, how you walk through and you got to walk through everything to get to the end. You walked through the produce, the butchery, the bakery, the seafood, and then the groceries at the end. So you had this captivated trail of people coming through.
Well, that just shows the level of touch points that they wanted to take a customer on a journey, right?
And it worked. At its time, it was that kind of food festival atmosphere. You pressed a button and the cow would move for the kids, and you know what I mean? There was that real market atmosphere. And I worked in the butchery there. After school, during my high school years, year 11 and 12, every Thursday night, I'd go in there, and Saturdays and the occasional Sundays, and I worked on the counter when the butchers went home. And that's how I got my passion for red meat. 7 years there. Because that carried on to while I was doing my apprenticeship. I still hustled that night and worked there. And that's what gave me my love of meat, if you like.
And you would have learned how to display meat.
I learned how to display meat. I could bone out a leg of lamb, and I wasn't even an apprentice. and I could French racks, and I could clean up, I could clean up the bandsaw, you know what I mean, after the butchers. So when they went home, we used to clean up the
They used
back
to
of
leave
house.
all the hard jobs for you.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
once again, it taught you respect, and you got to learn the whole supply chain, if you like. And that was one of the best jobs of my life. And I had an avenue because I actually got accepted to what they call the Young Achievers Management Program to go into a store manager of a supermarket. In those days, it was Franklin's, or continue my culinary apprenticeship. So that started at Spotless Group. We were in 1992. The 92, and I was in year 11, sorry. It was 93, I did my HSC. 94, I came out. We were in the middle of the recession we had to have with Paul Keating. There was 8 jobs and 64 applicants. And I was one of the lucky ones to get that apprenticeship. It was, now we're dying for apprentices. Back then it was very hard to get an apprenticeship. So I went for the interview out at the Sydney football ground, at the SCG, the cricket ground, where they had the catering at the time. And I was fortunate enough to get that apprenticeship.
Spotless, so maybe give a bit of context around who Spotless is.
Yeah, well, Spotless back then were the biggest commercial caterer in Australia. So they had over 600 sites nationally, everything from mining to education to business and industry to corporate banks like NAB, ANZ, Ernst Young, you name it. They did the commercial catering, Australian Institute of Sport, Football Stadium, Taronga Zoo Function Centre. They were everywhere. And the beauty of doing my apprenticeship there, Paulie, is that we had 6-month rotational stints in all different facets of business. Oh. So I started off, believe it, guess where I was working? Caltex Oil Refinery, cooking for refiners. 600 a day running through at lunchtime, big cakes in planetary Hobart mixes, big stir fries and curries, and learnt bulk commercial catering, quality food, right? Then the second 6 months, I went to Taronga Function Centre. At the time was an award-winning function centre, still is there today, the Harbour View. And we did Gueridon service, and silver service, and buffets, you know what I mean, for wedding receptions and all different types of events. And I did that for my second 6 months. Then I went to CommBank, and CommBank in 48 Martin Place had their own fine dining restaurant that was called Denison's. And back in the days, the bank managers used to bring their big clients, and we did everything there. So I had a tough Yorkshire chef by the name of Phil Gilroy. We did everything from our bread rolls to our desserts to our terrines, to you name it. It was a full commercial kitchen.
You don't hear of this culinary level in Australia anymore.
No, mate.
Like, this is something that you see in New York, you see in London.
Yes, sir.
You see in global cities around the world. And Australia, Sydney, between the 80s and early 2000s, had this.
Yes, sir. Yep. And it's sad that it's not there anymore, but I understand why it's not. Too.
Yeah, it's, we can understand why, but it was just like, let's just show a level of appreciation that
what you
did, and the level of hospitality that was given, and I guess the perception and the way that the industry was growing, and how many job opportunities there was, right?
Yes. Yeah.
To see this level of corporate structure such as Spotless, who an organisation that still dominates the market here in Australia today, even though they've diversified a little bit, they're still quite large, right? Spotless, I think, own Downer, and they're huge.
Oh yeah, well, it's the opposite now. Downer acquired them in 2017.
That's right. Sorry.
Yeah. You know your stuff.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
And to see them through different facilities and what they offer, like, you obviously learn in a juggernaut of that size a different level of hospitality.
Paulie, it's funny you say that. I'll never say anything bad about Spotless. I was there for 20 years. I went from an apprentice to a company car and an office job as the food development manager, looking after 185 sites with another good mate of yours, Glenn Flood, across Australia. You know what I mean? So they groomed me. They gave me the opportunity from a young apprentice right up to a senior management role. And I'm not sure if you saw a post I put on LinkedIn last week, but at Nestle Golden Chef's Hat, but it was very important to me. You have a look at the photo, you see Peter Wright, who's a global superstar in commercial food service, Dylan Sandling, executive chef of MCG, Steve McFarlane, head of food operations safety for Delaware North, Glenn Flood, myself in that photo. Guess where we all came from? The one company, you know, and how proud it was that we were all separately invited as different organisations to the most prestigious young culinary cooking comp that backed off Fine Food.
Wow.
It just goes to show what that company bred back in the day. And it bred strong, resilient culinary leaders that learnt different facets of that business. You know, I'm no maestro, but the experience I've had, I've done bulk commercial cookery, I've done fine dining, I've done stadia, I've done function centres. And that young training on learning all those different parts of commercial food service gave me the strength to be able to walk in confidently and understand other people's businesses.
Mate, 1,000,000%. And you know, and you're not just talking walking locally into people's businesses. This is you going on an international scale.
Correct. Yeah.
You're going into a different culture, a different community. Sometimes I see you in China, in Japan.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Korea. Then you can be traveling to Europe.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah.
So you're going around to London, and you have this level of presence and knowledge. It's like when I walk into a space, I'm young, but I've had exposure, just like you did. You know, I've been exposed to over 600 different venues, from defence,
Amazing,
all the way through to your mum and dad's small kebab shop.
the backbone of the country, mate. Those operators.
1,000,000%. And when I walk into a space, I can hold my head high, understand the task at hand, and see, okay, what needs to happen here, or what do we need to change, or what's the business case that we've got to move forward. The same way when you walk into a space, I feel like with that level of experience that you've had and the level of exposure that you had, you know, exposure and experience is two different things. I feel like when you're exposed to more varietal, you know, a larger variety of concepts that you work with within your field, your skill set just naturally grows.
100%.
Right.
And you never stop learning, Paulie. Every day I go in the kitchens, I'm listening. It's a learning day. Every day is a learning day. It's like going to school. 3 weeks ago, we were with Rob Smithson, head of Donata Catering. 64 million airline meals, four out of every 5 meals that go 30,000 feet out of Australia, whether it be around Australia or internationally, come out of his kitchens underneath his watch. How good was it to spend 2 days with his senior culinary leadership team learning what they do with our proteins in airlines? You know what I mean? Did you know that when a meal goes 30,000 feet, you have to increase the sodium in that meal to enjoy the taste, because you lose your taste receptors in your mouth when you're up at 30,000 feet?
Yep.
You know, all those little things. Did you know that their food has to be deconstructed into little foil trays with an instruction sheet so the cabin crew can make first-class meals out of regothermic ovens in the air? They don't just pull it out on a plate and it's done. They have all these little silver trays with all the
different components
deconstructed.
Like mise en place, but it's
Mise
all...
en place, exactly, with a sheet where the cabin crew put their gloves on and they assemble that dish like you were in a restaurant. How much organisational skills do you have to do that for 64 million meals? These are the guys I learn off, right? You're a big sponge. You know what I mean? And I guess you're right. We do come with a level of respect and understanding, right? But we never stop learning as well.
And how did you manage after you got into Spotless and you grew your role there, you found yourself in an organisation that embraced you and you embraced their system, right? How does one person, because I've never worked in corporate.
No.
Okay, I get called a cowboy. It's funny.
No way in the world, mate.
No, but it's funny. It's hilarious. Like, I take it as a compliment, because a lot of the guys that in my world that are corporate wish they were on my side of the fence with what I can do, being nimble and stuff like that.
100%.
And I take it as a compliment because they always say, when you're so corporate, you're so rigid and you can't move, you can't focus on anything else but the goal at hand. But when you're a cowboy per se, you can be nimble and you can be open and you can be friendly and you can be yourself. This is something that I always want to know is, how did you manage to hold that relationship and grow within an organisation for 20 years?
Yeah, good question. Well, number one, I met my wife there. right. So my wife's a chef. A lot of people don't know that, but I met my wife as a second-year apprentice cutting bok choy, and it was one of those rotations. It was out at IBM Cumberland Forest, and she was working for the organisation too, right? So I guess what I enjoyed about Spotless the most was that 9 times out of 10 they were sociable hours. Yes, we did our weekends and nights, but they weren't split shifts. And because you work for commercial catering, you even got the chance to have a weekend off every now and then. So I guess that's what kept me in the organisation. And also the diversity of work too. And the great
a bit
people.
of a balance, you'd say?
Yes, mate. I had a bit of a balance where I had some weekends off, but then other times I had to work weekends. And although I worked at Spotless, I hustled and did other jobs on the side. So I worked at the stadium, the Olympic Stadium when it opened, Stadium Australia back then, on its opening there, part-time, on the weekends and at nights. I was a cleaner at Barker School. I was a bouncer. I used to also do security at Leichhardt Oval. And I was a DJ, right? So at that time of my period, I guess, I was 21, I had no money. I was dating a beautiful Australian girl from Arab background. And the challenge was put on by my father-in-law to, have you got a house? Have you got any money saved? You want to take my beautiful daughter, my eldest, my first daughter? What kind of future are you going to give her? And, a few people who listen to this will know the story. They had a shop on Blacksall Street in Granville. And, he put a challenge to me, and it was like, if you want a beautiful wife, you got to earn that respect to look after that woman and later be your wife. So we worked and hustled for years, and we saved for our first house in 2 years, and all the money was between her ensemble bed up at the top of the shop. Right? It was the safest place to be because they never left the shop, right? Because it's a 7-day operation. But I guess that's what in answer kept me at Spotless so long. It was just the variety, the beautiful people like my wife that I met, and also the opportunity to be good at a lot of things, not just one type of commercial food service establishment. To be able to work commercial cookery, fine dining, stadia, retail, education, inbound catering where we used to bump in and do big events like the golf and the V8s and all that kind of stuff. It taught me how to be versatile, and I enjoyed the variety of it. And not only that, I got a company car at a young age. Like, how many chefs at 25 are driving around a brand new Falcon with a Nokia 3110 and hands-free in there? I thought I'd made it, mate. You know what I mean? And Spotless rewarded me back for those opportunities. They also put me through university too. Wow. After my commercial food service, my Cert 4 commercial cookery. I did a degree in business at UTS, nice. At age 32 with 2 beautiful kids.
And how important was tertiary education in your role now? Yeah,
well, I'd gone to a level as a commercial chef, as an executive chef at Spotless. And in order to get into an operations role, the business challenged me and said that I needed to evolve and have some tertiary education in business. So the true Sam Burke is telling me can't do it and watch him do it. All right, sign me up. When do I start? So the business kept their word and HR put me into UTS and we did a degree there, at UTS at Ultimo. And then I still use some of that Project Gantt skills and all that kind of stuff in my position today. Nice. But more I learnt is from life experiences. You can go to uni all you want, but where I've had the greatest learnings in life is working with, I learned today talking to you. I learned with Donata last week at, talking about airline meals. I learned when I'm out on the Canard Queen Elizabeth doing a pop-up steakhouse restaurant in the middle of the ocean. I learned when I'm at an aged care centre and we're doing reverse engineered food, that brings nostalgia and happiness to people because elderly people ate red meat Monday to Friday and had chicken on the weekend. So we've got a very important responsibility to look after those people at their later stages in lives because food brings enjoyment, memories and nostalgia. And I believe we've got an opportunity and a very important opportunity as professionals in this industry to bring that to our consumers no matter where they are across the whole of Horeca.
And how do you, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a chef or, someone in that transition right now looking for that sort of role like you had at Spotless or like you have at MLA as a corporate chef? How can they get into that sort of role?
Good question. I just didn't walk into this role at MLA. I worked 20 years and got all that information from Spotless and I guess that skill set, if you like, to be diverse and understand a forage of different businesses. And then when an opportunity came, I challenged myself. And to be honest, to be personally honest, I actually went for the opportunity at MLA because I was upset at Spotless because they got acquired by private equity and I started to look after cleaning contracts as well as commercial catering. So contracts at Stocklands, at Marylands, at Wetherill Park, the shopping centres, Chatswood, Westfields. That was not my forte. I wasn't a commercial cleaner. They're very high risk contracts because if somebody slips over in a shopping centre and hurts themselves and you haven't cleaned in a certain type of period, you know what I mean? They can sue the centre and the centre will then sue the contractor. So there was a lot of different aspects that I didn't know. I wasn't a professional in that kind of industry. And when I got forced to look after that as well as commercial catering, I lost my passion.
So that does happen, right? When you're a part of a corporate juggernaut,
yeah,
sometimes the business has to do what the business has to do to survive.
Correct.
And, even though that we can sit and bitch and moan about, how shit it might be,
yeah,
at the end of the day, the business is a business and they're there to make a profit.
But guess what, Paulie? I did my 20 years, bro.
That's it.
I was loyal to the end. I loved the joint. But when I saw it started to lose the focus on the food at the time, my personal experience, and they still do a great job today, but from my own, or when I started to lose the passion, right? Not so much the organisation, I knew it was time for a move. So when the role at MLA came, once again, that was very highly contested. There was quite a lot of chefs that applied for the role. And I got that job. I was actually scared to leave because I'd been 20 years with the one employer since I left school in 1994 to 2013. So I actually was nervous to take the role because you had to start at the bottom and work your way to the top again and prove yourself. And at age 38, with three daughters,
yeah,
and my wife didn't work and a mortgage, that was a big risk for me, right?
And so how did you mentally manage that risk?
So believe it or not, the gentleman that hired me, Lachlan Botel, we were good mates before. And when I got the job, he said, I rang up to decline the offer, believe it or not, because I said, I'll just stay at Spotless because I'm safe there. They'll look after me. I'll just bin it and I'll just grind it out at the cleaning and then hopefully I'll just look after catering again. And he encouraged me. He said, Sam, I've seen what you can do. You've brought MLA in when you used to have masterclasses with your individual teams at Spotless. I've seen the passion that you display. I go, your mum comes from a rural background. What do you got to lose? You know your stuff. That instant, I remember taking the call. I was in my garage in my backyard. I said, we're on. I went in and told my wife. She burst out crying because she could see the pressure I was on under at Spotless. And mate, true Sam Burke fashion, I said, I'm going to give this job at MLA 250%. I'm going to learn everything I can about red meat that I don't already know. And I'm going to make sure I leave a legacy at this position. So that's exactly what I did. I read all the books. I started cooking every weekend. It was a bit like, you know, when you watch Rocky and he's about to fight Drago and he does that training montage before he flies to Russia.
Yeah.
That was me in a culinary perspective, learning about beef and lamb, reading, knowledge, cooking, looking at different aspects from mince all the way up to Wagyu. You know the highest cuts, marble score 9 rib sets. You know what I mean? And then applying that knowledge slowly to my role. And when I came to MLA, it was more of a corporate role that assisted with the marketing programs, but there wasn't such a business development aspect and a budget per se for me. And I thought about it. And I said, when I was at Spotless, we always got invited to big corporate executive chefs things, and you'd see the head chef of the Hilton, and you'd see the head chef of Qantas, and you'd see the head chef of other commercial catering companies, big reception centres. So you saw the same old faces. We were all the corporate executive chefs of these organisations. So what if I used my opportunity at MLA as a corporate chef to talk to all these networks that I've made, these executive chefs of major corporations all around the world, and say, how about I immerse myself in your business, I learn about your challenges, and I arrest some of those challenges, and then we throw a bit of marketing into it and training and culinary confidence for your staff. And one gentleman by the name of Gary Johnson, who's very well renowned in the industry, saw the opportunity when I was at MLA. He goes, that's great, Sam, let's do it. And it snowballed. Then the next thing, there was my old commercial catering company, Spotless. I went back there and did some training with them. Then the next thing, we did a hotel group, or the next thing, we're on airlines. The next thing, we're with cruise ships, and it expanded. And
this is all through your natural organic network.
100%. And then all of a sudden, MLA could see
traction
and good ROI, because there were stories to be told about how before we went in and then after we went in. And I'll tell you, we don't always get it right.
What's MLA's definitive job?
Yeah, good question. So Meat Livestock Australia are the service provider for Australian beef, veal, lamb and goat producers for marketing and research and development in Australia and across 100 markets around the world for Aussie beef. So we work for the producers. And our role is for better prosperity for producers.
And how is MLA funded?
So MLA is funded by producer levies and also by the Australian federal government. So every animal that's processed, the producer pays a levy to MLA, and we're responsible for marketing, research and development. And also for our R&D projects, the government meets producer levies dollar for dollar, or investments dollar for dollar, for research and development to foster prosperity for the red meat industry.
So you're at the forefront of a government-bound organisation. You are the hinging gateway for both the government and producers.
Yeah, so we're owned by the producers of Australia. We're a service body owned by Australian beef, lamb, veal and goat producers, but we're funded by the federal government for R&D as well.
Wow.
So we've got two reports, to the producers and to the agricultural minister.
If there was a chef out there that's listening to this podcast and he struggles as an introvert.
I'm not that. But
I know
anyway,
you're not. I know you're not. I know you're far from it. But at the end of the day, you were a 16-year-old kid flipping burgers at McDonald's.
Correct. Yeah.
So we all come from somewhere.
We do, and we never forget where we came from.
That's very, very, very important. How would you best tell an introverted chef to be able to take that step out of his comfort zone and communicate through food to other people outside the industry like you do at a government? Because one day you're cooking for the Prime Minister.
Correct.
The next day you're cooking for government delegates in other countries.
Yep, correct.
And, you know, in my eyes, you're a humble man from Sydney, Australia.
From the western suburbs, bro, like
suburbs. That's it, where we all grew up.
Yeah.
And, you know, for you to be able to translate and communicate through food, how would you, you know,
pass that on
to a chef who's struggling with that growth period, with that stepping out of his comfort zone?
I guess we've all got to put ourselves out there, whether we like it or not. And we really do. If you want to succeed in life, you've got to take chances and be prepared to fail. I have failed so many times in life, but I've succeeded more times than I've failed. And what did you learn from failing to make you stronger, right? So I guess what I say to young chefs that are introverted, I said, get out there, network, talk, take chances, and don't be afraid to fail. Because that's the only way we learn and excel from what we've done, probably not to the best in our past. And I still fail today, but I always re-look at what didn't work and how can I fix it so it doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again, what have I learned from that as well? So I guess it's, the old saying is, my mum used to say to me when I was a young kid, you know, watch Sesame Street, and Big Bird would fall off the bike when he was trying to learn how to ride it. He got back on and tried and tried and tried again. And that is the basic fundamentals that you need to learn for life, that not everyone gets everything straight off. Sometimes some people do, but if you keep on struggling and you keep on hustling and you keep on working hard and you network and you be prepared to do things to learn, it doesn't always have to be financially remunerated. You will succeed in life. It'll pay back. Trust me, it will, because that's been my life. That's been my mantra. I have always looked at opportunities to better myself, and it hasn't always been financially. Like, we go back to trade school. If I was scared to do the, what do they call it, the test at the end, right?
Yeah.
You know, for vegetables, right? I couldn't turn potatoes. Remember you had to turn potatoes
right.
with your paring knife? I would stay back and get 20 kilos of potatoes and I'd do it until I nailed it. When I was at Spotless, let's take meat aside, I was the food development manager for Alliance Catering business. We had 185 sites around the country. Nearly every one of them had a 2-group coffee machine in there, right? And I couldn't make a coffee. So who am I as food development manager to tell you how to run your business when I don't know how to make a coffee? So what did I do? I went on the training at Grinders, who looked after our Coke back in the day, who looked after our coffee. And then every site that I went to in 1 year, I pulled a shot, I frothed the milk, and I made a coffee. By the end of the year, I could make coffees very good. And I still have a commercial machine at home and I make a coffee every day. That's the kind of mantra that you should take with everything. If you're nervous at speaking, what can you do to build that confidence? If you can't cook something, keep on practicing until you nail it. It's just like anything, like an athlete trains, you need to train in the kitchen. If you're not strong at cost of goods, download the free sheets from Hospo Dojo and learn, no, seriously, and learn how to cost out food. If you don't know cost of goods management or labour percentages, work it out, because these are fundamentals. You can be a great chef, but if you're not a good business unit operator, unfortunately, there's a high chance of you failing in this industry. So you need to be not an expert in everything, but you need to be great at a lot of things. Cost of goods, labour, what you said, wastage as well, rent, your food offer, your hours, everything that you say and this is why I love and this is me giving something back to you. Everything you put on your Instagram, I enjoy because I can relate to it and I still learn from it. And guess what? I've downloaded a few of your sheets. We never stop learning, right?
1,000,000%.
And I keep them in the hard drive because one day I'll need to look at that again to jog my memory.
That's it.
So that's what I say to introverts. Get out there and give it a go. The worst thing you can do is fail. It's like when you're looking at that beautiful girl at your first school dance. Unless you go up, you might get rejected, but you don't know if you don't ask her to dance.
Right.
You'll never know. Anyway,
so ask her to take a dance.
That's a crazy analogy. People use apps these days, but we did it the hard way back at the nightclubs in the old days, mate.
So, anyway. If there was anyone that was instrumental to your career, during this whole podcast, I've learned how you've just grown and shaped into now the voice of MLA on a global scale. Who would you pinpoint in your career was maybe the most instrumental figure and why?
Phil Gilroy. He was my chef at Combank, the one I told you that really pushed me. So we do grinding.
The Yorkshire bloke.
Yeah, the Yorkshire bloke. We did grinding work underneath him, right? We'd do big days in the kitchen. We'd make all our terrines, all our bread rolls, all our ice creams. There was the squid ink linguine. You name it. We made it. We portioned our own meat. We did our own butchery. And then at the end of the day, when you were tired and you washed all the tea towels in the washing machine and you hung them up, you were then called into the office to do stock take, purchase summary, branch invoicing. And at the time, as a young 20-year-old, I was so angry because I'm a young apprentice. I'm here to cook. I'm not here to do this stuff. But what I learned from Phil pushing me and learning me how to use all that kind of acumen in other development areas in hospitality groomed me to be a leader a lot younger than what I would have been. And also there's another lady called Catherine Mitchell who was a mentor to me in the operational world who saw the chance of Sam Burke being a food service leader out of the whites. There's a few, right? David Pugh, another guy. There's a few people that have been great. And my other big supporter, I say to this day, my beautiful wife. Because unless you've got a strong family background, and my mum. My mum was the one that pushed me to be a chef. She said, you love to eat, get out there and do it, right? Yeah. So those few people in your life, there's a select few of people that guide you today. I've got another mentor, Glenn Flood, who right? I talk to him every day. These people, you reflect on, you challenge yourself, you talk, you learn, and
they just push you to be better. Now, if there's one thing that you learn off them that you can pass down to someone else, potentially sitting in that mentor's driver's seat, what's one sort of, because there's a lot of senior chefs and a lot of executives as well as, different people in business right now who listen to this podcast that unfortunately fail to mentor the next up-and-coming person within their organisation. And you've been taught through many different systems and been exposed to so many different systems. And I understand your mantra on your approach for an individual, but as a mentor, because you judge some of the best chefing competitions. So as a mentor, what's one piece of advice you could give to somebody going through that mentorship journey when they're teaching somebody else?
Don't beat yourself up, right? And never stop learning. I sincerely mean that. I know I've said it a few times today, but I guess what I can say is, if you failed, don't be upset at yourself, because the greatest people fail in life. And also learn why you failed, and then try to build the strength to overcome that factor that made you fail.
And how do you deal with patience? Like if you're teaching someone,
Yeah.
you're mentoring someone, patience is a virtue. It's something that, you know.
Like the biggest, this just popped into my head now, right? The biggest thing that upsets a lot of young people in hospitality is that they want the big money as soon as they finish their Cert 3 or Cert 4. It'll come if you work for it, right? And I get it, right? Cost of living is expensive. It's hard to rent, pay the bills, and then earn a minimum wage. But I guess everyone's got to start from somewhere. And those who learn and put in just that little bit extra, like stay back that extra hour and learn off their chef, or be inquisitive to find out how to order, you become, number one, more valuable to the business or employer that you're working with. And they want to repay you by investing more in you. So it works two ways, right? You need to invest a bit in the employer, a bit more, and a good employer will see that and invest that back into yourself. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So don't expect all the time. It's always give and take.
No matter what part of the business you work on.
And when you've succeeded and get to a stature in your life, you need to be able to give back too. This is why I do judging at the Royal Fine Foods. This is why I get involved in competitions like Nestle Golden Chef's Hat. This is why we do work with the Australian Culinary Federation, is because we got a responsibility to give back, because the people before us gave back to us. So we need to, and that's with everything, not just food.
Definitely.
Right? You know what I mean? If you give back, it's a great feeling positively for yourself. It's a great gift to yourself, because it's not all money and wealth and flash cars and, like, you know, I drive around in a V8, but I didn't get it till I was 2018. When I was young, I drove a Suzuki Caravan. It looked like grey paper in it. That was $1,400, and I drove it for 10 years. What I'm saying to you is that work hard, show respect, network, and be prepared to give a little bit back. And if a good employer will notice that and invest in yourself, that's my mantra, right?
I love it. Sammy, you fly around a bit. People see you always up in planes and between different lounges, and you know, through my travels as well, it's tiring.
It is, man. Look at my eyes.
It's tiring, and you know, people looking for those roles where, you know, they can have travel, they can work a corporate job. I find that, you know, what I want to shed a bit of light on is the truth behind these sort of roles is, you know, when you're constantly traveling for your job, you're losing a connection to your home, you're losing connection to your family, you have to disconnect, you have to immerse yourself, and all of a sudden an 8-hour day turns into a 24-hour day.
100% it does.
Because the minute you walk out the door and you're on a plane, you're on 24/7.
And when you're traveling, you're working and immersing yourself in the client's business all day, and then you're catching up on the emails at night. People don't understand that. Well, they do, but you know what I mean? It's just like working a grinding day in the kitchen. The stuff's still got to go on back in the administrative side of the world. I guess how do I deal with it? I'll tell you how I deal with it. Fitness is very important to me. That's my one outlet, right? I've got a gym at home where I'm in every morning, not for a long time, 35 minutes, and I do a 3K run every day, and I do 4 sets of 40 push-ups wherever I am in the world. That fitness gives me the mental clarity to put more energy into what I do every day. It's so important, guys. And I try to eat properly. And it's hard when you're eating out all the time and you're with clients and they give you a beer. Sometimes I like a bowl of broccoli and a little steak and a salad and a glass of water. it's hard to have that when you're out with customers every night. You know what I mean? When you're the red meat chef, you're expected to have that big, beautiful tomahawk. The chef is proud that you're in their restaurant. So they'll bring out the tomahawk and the truffle fries and the peppercorn sauce and the beautiful crispy lamb ribs. And of course, I'd love to eat it. But if you have that 5 days, you know what I mean? It starts to add up. So what I'm saying is fitness is key, right? To not only keeping healthy and living a long life, but for mental health as well.
And how important is mental health?
Oh, mate, it's everything. It's you know what I mean? We see the struggles. I was watching just a documentary last night on James Packer. It was on Sunday night on Channel 7 about how he's dealt with it. It's very real in food service. And I'm not going to pretend to know the answer to that. But what I do know, it's just nice to get out and smell the roses every now and then, go for a quiet walk, breathe the air in, don't have your phone with you all the time. Go for a drive, put the windows down like we used to in the old days, go for a cruise with the boys, remember that? And live young. I don't know, you know my socials, mate. Yeah, we follow each other like magnets, right? 2 weeks ago, my daughter turned 18. How many fathers DJ their daughter's 18th? And the kids are actually proud of their dad DJing the 18th.
100%.
I give everything to those girls, man.
Right.
You know, when I'm home, I'm at home. People go, what are you doing the weekend? I sit on my couch, I watch the rugby league, I cook barbecues, and I be present with my family.
And how do you manage in a corporate role to disconnect when you walk in that door?
Yeah, it's not easy. I struggle with that sometimes. Put my hand up. If a text comes through or if there's an emergency come through or somebody needs to talk to me, I'm always trying to help them. That's something I've struggled with and that's something I've got to get better at, switching off and just being present after work, not just on the weekends.
You know what I find works for me? My current lifestyle at the moment is quite a lot of late nights, clients globally that have access to me.
Yeah.
So I run my business very tight on a calendar. Every hour is booked.
Very good.
And then when I need my family time, I book that out as well. So if you're running, like right now with global business and you know, being accessible, the level of accessibility to people now is instant. It's straight away, it's on the phone, it's through WhatsApp, through your text messages, through a phone call, through an email, and they know that you're online. Like, you know, there's no hiding from it.
They can see it.
There's no hiding from it.
My wife can look at the phone and see where I'm sitting right now.
So you know, it's what I like to do is put that block in my calendar.
I like it.
And I just say, you know, dinner with my wife between here and here.
Smart.
And I block it out.
Smart. Like you would with a meeting.
Like you would with a bloody meeting.
Yeah.
So if you run your whole day, 80% of your day is run on a calendar, well, you might as well run 100% on it.
You know what?
People think I'm crazy.
I like that, Paul, and I'm going to try it.
Give it a go.
And I'm going to try it.
I feel like it helps. And this is talking to people that listen to this pod that, you know, in the kitchen, people will turn around and they say, once we close the doors of the business, we go home, it's all off. Yeah, okay, I understand what you mean. But for those of you that are operating in a different mindset, in a different world, and where you're constantly online, well, just block out time in your physical diary, and that way
to be with the most important people in your life.
Schedule it.
Yep, agree.
Schedule your hobbies in. Like, mate, I literally put blocks in my calendar for when I go to the gym, when I get my hair cut.
Smart.
And for me, I can have breakfast on the go, I can have lunch on the go because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But dinner's so important to me because I have that downtime with my
communication.
family.
Sunday barbecue for my family.
There you go, man. Just block it in. Put it in the calendar and have it as a repeat event. And you know when something comes up, you're going, shit, I'm missing out on this.
100%, Paulie.
The same way that you want to move a meeting, you're like, can I move this?
Yeah.
or can I reschedule it up? And it's
No,
all
you're right.
It's a mindset thing.
I run the calendar hard on my job. If it doesn't go on my calendar,
It's not in there.
yeah.
And I
So,
think that's
yeah,
an important
yeah.
trait for anybody is if you don't have diary and calendar management, like my father was always the type that he would carry a physical diary everywhere.
God bless him. Yeah.
He still does. He runs his whole life on a physical
The
diary.
little bit of ribbon that goes between the day.
And
Yeah.
he has to run it every single day on the diary. And he would always drill to me, you need a diary. But for me, I was like, I hated writing things down. Like there, I'd always like to have it on my device because I'd have it accessible. So when he would see me forget a meeting or whatnot, he'd be like, it's not in your fucking diary. It's not in your diary. And I never understood it for years. I'm talking like 8 years of my early career. I never understood it until we had the pandemic, and then we started having to schedule things in because not everything was nimble. And then I started really getting into this calendar organisation, and now, especially in the past 12 months, with dealing with people in different time zones all the time.
Yep.
Like, mate, I could have a call at 11 p.m, 1 a.m. If my calendar's not right, I'm gone. I need to block out time for myself. So I think it's really important. And, when you went through that transitional period of going from Spotless to MLA, I went through my own journey as well. And what I found was the one thing that allowed me to go through my own journey was that I was lucky enough during my transfer time to be able to take one day off a week and focus on myself.
Yeah, good.
So I took time, I focused on myself for literally 8 hours of the day, and that's where I'd do my study. I started my MBA.
Good man.
That'd be my study day, and then my professional mentor that was in the background, I'd spend 1 hour a week with her. So I'd spend 8 to 9 hours a day on a self-development day, and that allowed me to build some clarity in my life. So yeah, sometimes Jim Carrey says it very well. Jim Carrey has a saying. Comedian Jim Carrey turns around and says, if you can't change your lifestyle, he says, in order for you to succeed, you need to be literally able to take a step back, cut your income in half, be prepared to basically eat bread and butter, and just live off bare bones in order for you to take a next step.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to go back, pare back the bones. You might be, in a great job, or in a good paying job, in a big environment, around a group of 30 under you, but you feel like you're lost in this wheel. Going to another big bulky organisation, that's not going to help you if that's not what you love. So sometimes it's about making that sacrifice, communicating with your family like you did. You communicated to your wife, you said, I'm taking this risk. And in the back of your subconscious, you thought, she's not going to like it, but she burst out in tears of joy.
Yeah, she did, mate.
So,
Because she could see the pressure I was going through.
Pressure. But she didn't obviously show that to you every single day.
No. You asked me a minute ago, and I've had a bit of a think about it further.
Yeah.
Advice. Have a good set of people around you too.
1,000,000%.
Like my wife, good friends, good networks. If you surround yourself with positive people, it brings you up with them. If you surround yourself with negative people, it holds you back. And another bit of advice, if people, you want to know the greatest determination for me that gets me up today and gets me revved up, tell Sam Burke he can't do it. Just tell me I can't do it, and then watch me do it, right? Always have faith in yourself and keep on striving until you get the end result. And sometimes that doesn't happen immediately.
But some people struggle with self-belief, Sam.
I agree.
Or self-worth.
I agree.
I struggled with that for a year.
I agree.
Or for many years. I didn't know that. But for 12 months, I went through a period where I didn't know my self-worth as an individual. So what I did was I actually went selfish. I used to do everything for everyone. Anyone that wanted anything, Paul was there. Drop of a hat, one phone call away, I was the first person there. But I was always scattered and there for everyone. And what I found was that I was there for everyone, but I wasn't there for the people that needed me most.
Love it.
And I wasn't there for the person that needed me most, was myself. So people go to me, you know, how'd you grow on Instagram? How'd you do this? How'd you start a business yourself? How'd you travel and share a stage with Lewis Howes and Tom Brady in your first year of doing all this? How'd you manage to do all that? I'll tell you how. I was selfish. I was selfish to the point where I needed to understand who I was. I needed to just stop everything, and it's okay. It's actually okay to take a break and tell everyone, hey, hold the fuck off for a second.
Yeah.
Because my mental health isn't in the right state. Here's my hand.
Nice one, Paul.
I'm not going through the best of things. In order for me to help you, I need to help myself.
You know what? I need to learn a bit of that, and that's been a great piece of wisdom passed over to me.
Take a step back, take a breather, and just go. You know, my mentor was like to me, "What's important to you in your life? What do you want to achieve? What is it? What do you see yourself in 5 years? What is it on that list?" I'll tell you now. When I started that list, and my list now, and my list 6 months ago, they're continually evolving. You need to check in with yourself just like you check in with your client. You need to check in with yourself just like you check in with your staff member. So just take that step back. You said it beautifully. Smell the fucking roses that are in front of you.
100%.
And if there's no roses in front of you, well, you've got to walk
Find
towards
the
the field.
roses.
Find the roses to smell.
Find the roses
That's
to
it.
smell. I love
So
it, mate.
definitely.
I'm in.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you so much for jumping on the pod. It was an emotional one, but it was definitely something I learnt a lot from. And I would love next time you're in Donata, or next time you're at a farm that's got livestock or something that we can shed some light on together.
Yeah, Paul, we'd love to do that.
You know, I'd love to do some work openly with MLA, wherever the case may be, because I feel like, you know, it's our role. You know, I believe God's graced us with a gift where we can help others. And, you know, I do this podcast. I don't earn any money from this pod.
No.
This is all funded from myself. This is all paid for by me, bootstrapped and done, just to showcase and shed some light on our industry in Australia. Something that I wanted to walk away from, that I thought I should walk away from, but I said, no, I'm doubling down. I'm reinvesting in because I love it. And I love the people in it because it's given me so much. So if there's any way that I can, you know, give back to MLA and the team that are behind it, because I truly believe you guys are doing amazing work.
Thank you.
Please let me know, because I'd love to be involved. And guys, Australian beef, lamb, goat, any red meat and veal, get it on your fork.
Yeah, legend. Look, just a quick plug out to my followers that are listening to this. Please jump on Paulie Usher's socials. You will learn so much, not only about food service, but about life, and just really comprehensive, easy to understand information that'll make you better at your role. Support the people that are here for food service. And also, you know, you might have just give a plug to Rare Medium. That's our food service account, raremedium.com.au. And you know, and for Paulie's listeners, come to Chef Samuel Burke too, because we love giving information and tips and tricks to make sure Chef Samuel Burke on Insta, you know, just to help you if your red meat struggles, you know. So, you know, if you got any questions, that's how you can reach out to me through Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Samuel Burke on LinkedIn, or Chef Samuel Burke on Facebook and Insta. And you know,
learn different ways to use
non-prime cuts, whole carcass utilisation, sustainable eating, beef, lamb, and goat.
You can't beat it.
No, mate, and I've said it time and time again. We need to have you in the backyard, cooking a big tomahawk over the Argentinian perilla. Get the boys there with the video camera, and that'll be a true shut the gates moment.
We'll get there.
On those words,
Thank you
Paulie,
so much.
shut the gates. Thank you very
Cheers,
much,
mate.
brother.
Cheers. Thank you.